If you've ever scrolled past someone on social media or even encountered someone in real life and wondered, wow, they just made it out of nowhere, this episode is for you. We are taking apart the myth of overnight success and really diving through common assumptions that at the end of the day tend to make us feel bad about ourselves when in reality we are on our own journey. Welcome back to She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. I'm your host, Annie from the Banana Diaries. Let's do a quick recap of last week and dive right in to the concept of overnight success. Last week was all about embracing the concept of being labeled as high maintenance, how it is a flex. It is something to be proud of for having high standards, setting your boundaries, and sticking to them. If you haven't tuned in yet, definitely have a listen because I had a lot of fun with that episode and I would really love to hear your thoughts on it. Today's episode is titled Behind the Curtain of Overnight Success. So, first of all, what is overnight success? This isn't a formal definition of any kind. Overnight success tends to be when maybe you've seen someone on social media or you even encountered someone in real life. Maybe yesterday this person was just doing their usual, right? And then all of a sudden, maybe they have 1 million followers on social media. Maybe someone got a massive promotion out of nowhere, what seemed to be out of nowhere. All of these things tend to relate to the concept of overnight success. And we're going to take this apart today because the concept of overnight success can make people feel very bad about themselves. And we need to take this apart because I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. So if you are stressing out about your life and your journey, keep listening because we are taking apart some common assumptions on overnight success. First things first, let's go through some common but often misleading definitions of overnight success. These are not formal definitions in any way. So, for example, when someone suddenly becomes rich, famous, or successful out of nowhere, that tends to be considered overnight success. A person who gains recognition or goes viral seemingly overnight without any prior warning. And someone who makes it big with one lucky break. Um, those are all very misleading because what we're going to dive into in a few minutes is all the work that's behind the success that maybe this person or these people are suddenly, if you're not seeing this with video, I'm using little quotes on the word suddenly happen to them. A few more accurate and grounded definitions of overnight success. So, the moment when the public finally sees the result of years of unseen work. I like that one. Another one is a delayed reward that appears sudden to outsiders. Now, keep in mind, you can absolutely use some of these as takeaways. So, if you start to fall into the trap of the overnight success mindset and then you start to get jealous or you feel bad about yourself, remind yourself of these definitions because these definitions can help you to reframe your thoughts, especially if you're feeling bad. The visible tipping point of long term consistency, right? Consistency is key. And a narrative used to glamorize success without acknowledging the grind behind it. Those four definitions, I love them. And I have a little screenshot of them that I keep on my phone because every now and then I need a reminder as well that we are all on our own journey and we have to trust the timing of everything that is unfolding. I'm going to use an example from my life because this is how I can relate to this. I would not consider myself overall like an overnight success. I don't feel like I've achieved certain things in my life that I want to achieve where I would consider myself um like someone that people say that about me, that I'm an overnight success. I feel like I'm constantly a work in progress and I'm always moving the bar higher for myself, which is why I never really stop to celebrate or enjoy some of the success that I have. I'm more kind of like a, okay, I achieved this. Let's check this off. Moving on to the next level kind of person. If you can relate, comment, because I would love to know that there are other people who do that. I know I need to stop and be better about celebrating. I will work on it, I promise. I'm going to use my timeline and my journey as a brief example. I won a world title in ballroom dancing. There was an event that I danced with someone, and it was a world championship event. I couldn't really say that I had any expectation for winning. I'm very grateful. I know that that was for me like a moment where I needed to step back and realize, okay, like I did this, my work, the sweat, like the dedication to ballroom dancing has had an achievement finally in my life. Um, Sometimes I have to, I don't know, I'm very shy about talking about this. Whenever I say something about this, I feel like I'm bragging, and I know that I need to get better about that because it is something that I achieved and I shouldn't be downplaying it. So, me talking about this right here with you is already huge progress. Um, so we practiced, we went to the event, we danced, we won. I truly don't think that people thought we were going to win. I don't think they even gave it like 1 second of thought that they should talk about us or acknowledge us on the video. Not that they have to, but generally there's kind of an idea happening where you can look at who's out there and kind of do like a little lineup in your head of, okay, well, I think it's going to be like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on. So I found it interesting that nobody had anything to say about us at all. I truly don't think anyone thought we were going to win. And when we did, all of a sudden it was like shock, which, by the way, thank you, because like I'm being sarcastic. That's so offensive, like that you're shocked when someone wins. Like that's not very nice. But anyway, that's why we're talking about overnight success today, because it's not like, it's very downplaying. It downplays people's effort, it downplays the work that people have put into something. And it's really not cool to do that. Anyway, I'm just saying that's why we're talking about this. And you know that I'm not really like holding back on this podcast. We're really just going for it and talking about feelings and whatnot. So when it comes to this concept of overnight success, I don't think anyone really considered that we practiced. I don't think anyone considered the work that has been put in the entire journey individually, right? I've been ballroom dancing since I was in high school, and the work and the practice and just all of the effort that has been poured into that is a lot. And to just say that someone's an overnight success or treat them like they are or act shocked and wonder, well, why did that happen? Why did that result happen? I just think that one, for the people who this is being said about, you need to give yourself some credit because you know where the credit is due. People who are watching and people who are judging you and assuming you're an overnight success and how the heck did that happen? It's out of jealousy, it's out of their own concerns they have about themselves, it's out of their insecurities. It has nothing to do with you. And I think that if you ever feel that it's a personal attack on you, you want to try to take a step back and feel that it's not. Like sometimes I do still talk about this because I have to remind myself that it is something that I achieved. People did really manage to make me feel bad about it and to make me second guess if I should even bring it up or if I should say it. But I know deep down that I should because I did achieve it. And that's kind of where the assumption of overnight success can be harmful, and we're going to dive more into this. I have a whole list of assumptions about why overnight success can be harmful. But again, that is my closest moment, I would say, where I can feel relatable to what it feels like to be called an overnight success and how bad it can make you feel. Because generally, when you're called an overnight success, it's not really in a positive way. It's more of wondering, well, why did this happen? How did it happen? Like, what is it about this person? Like, why are they achieving this? What have they done to achieve it? It downplays, and I don't think it's very nice because you don't know someone's story. People who are supportive know your story. My friends couldn't be prouder of me. My family couldn't have been more proud of me because they're the ones who know more of my journey. And I don't think that it's your fault, let me just say, that people don't know your journey. In another episode, we talked about who deserves to know all of the intimate personal details about your life. Not everyone does. So, by me saying this, don't think that that means you need to share your journey with people. You don't. It is up to them to stop making these assumptions, which, to be quite honest, it's probably not going to happen because there are a lot of people who don't deal with their own insecurities. So, this has nothing to do with you. And I want you to know that. If people call you this and you feel offended, it's okay. Acknowledge that you feel offended. Think about maybe what it is deep down that's making you feel offended, but know that at the end of the day, you can't change people's thoughts and people's opinions on it. So, first of all, let's just go through the downside of how the person being called the overnight success can feel, right? So it downplays real effort and discipline. So you do not know the behind the scenes of the effort this person put in and then the discipline that it took to be consistent. You have no idea, right? Because if you're busy making this assumption about someone, you don't know. You wouldn't be making this assumption about someone if you knew. So keep that in mind. It discourages people when their success takes time. So if you're having this assumption about someone and now you're feeling bad, you have to just realize that you made an assumption that really wasn't a good assumption to make. Because if you're comparing yourself to someone else, you're probably going to feel bad about it. You're on your own journey, they're on their own journey, right? You have to not compare and don't make these assumptions. So it contributes to imposter syndrome, which that can be a whole nother topic. We're not going to focus on imposter syndrome. Why isn't it happening for me like it did for her or for him? That's something that's common. Again, the comparison is not good in the first place. It creates unrealistic timelines and toxic productivity standards. So, if you're making this assumption about someone, you're going to consciously or subconsciously start to adjust how you work, which may not be great if you're working yourself way too hard because you want to try to be like this other person. That's not great either because now you're trying to adjust your timeline and match it up to someone else's, and that's just not really realistic. Some common assumptions people make about overnight success. I might dive into some of these. I'm not sure. Sometimes I need to say it out loud, and then my immediate thought just wants to dive into it. So, number one, they just got lucky. So, when you're saying this, the assumption is that the success is purely based on chance, not strategy, work, or perseverance. There's a quote about this. Luck is when preparation and hard work like finally come together with an opportunity, something like that. I think I completely butchered it, but there is something about that, about luck. So, an assumption that someone got lucky and that's where their success came from, there's more behind it than just saying that they got lucky. Number two, they must have connections. So it invalidates someone's grind by crediting unseen help, nepotism, or being, quote, in the right circle, unquote. Yeah, there are people who have connections, but at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about something like that. And it's, again, just not nice to say that the only reason someone made it is because they have famous parents or they know this person or that person. They have something I don't. So it's as if you're trying to say that the success is only for people with talent, money, looks, confidence, etc. There are so many things you can think of. And honestly, I don't like for someone to say this because you are like insulting yourself. You need to find what you love in life, what makes you glow, what makes you feel passionate about it, and go after it. Again, this like whole comparison is just so bad. I feel like I need to do an episode on comparing. But that right there, that makes me feel bad for the person saying it because you are like really downplaying your own strengths and things that you're good at and comparing yourself to someone else. I also really don't like when people compare their looks to someone else. It must be easy for them. So you're minimizing the challenges someone faced just because you're seeing the end result, and the end result is polished and it's put together. I think that's also easy to relate to social media. Most people, not everyone, most people show their wins and their successes, and they don't always show you their failures, right? So keep that in mind. You're seeing a lot of what people want you to see, not everything that's happening. Their life changed overnight. So it implies that the moment you witness this success, whatever it was, now everything's different, right? Now this person doesn't have to worry about anything. They're set for life. They went viral, this and that, da 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 da, right? And that's like totally not the case whatsoever for most people. Again, right? There's always like exceptions. They're an overnight expert now. I'm not loving that one. So, if someone considers themselves an expert in something, there's generally knowledge behind whatever this person is an expert in. So, maybe you didn't see all the years that they studied something, right? You just assume that this person knows everything all because of one video, and then you don't want to listen to them because you think that they're just making it up because there was one video, they're successful, they went viral, right? But this person could very well have so much knowledge because they've been studying this for years. There was I've had numerous times in ballroom dancing lessons where I tell them something based on my extensive knowledge in ballroom dancing and they completely disregard it. And in my mind, I'm like, why are you having a lesson with me if you don't care to hear anything that I have to say? I say things that come from a place of knowledge. So when someone would brush it off or they would tell me that I was wrong, like, no. Why are you having a lesson with me if you don't want to know or hear anything that I have to say? That never ever made sense to me. They just went viral. Yeah, it happens. Why it happens? Who knows? I don't know that anyone's ever really going to figure out algorithms. I don't have the patience to figure out algorithms and what's going to do this and what's going to do that. I'm going to show you real content on my social media because I just don't have the patience to sit there and learn about everybody's algorithms. And then by the time I learned about it, it changed again and it changed again. So I think when someone goes viral, there's a lot behind it that happens, and maybe sometimes there isn't, but it is what it is. And one day, if you just keep doing it authentically, maybe it'll happen to you. But don't set your sights on just going viral, right? Be consistent and show up consistently. Give yourself some time on your journey. Now, we're just going to discuss like some petty assumptions because I feel like some of this needs to be pointed out because some of it's just rude and it's just mean and no judgment. In my personal opinion, if you catch yourself saying things like this, please like take a step back and realize how you would feel if somebody said this about you because I really don't feel like these are nice. It also kind of reminds me of like when I was watching Love Island this season and there was this moment where they took a second on screen to address like how mean people are being on social media. And that's just what this reminds me of. Because I do not like to be around people who talk badly about other people. I was around that for a while and I admit that like I got dragged into it, but like I literally snapped into it one day and was like, no, I do not want this in my life. I do not want to be around these people, especially if they're going to be talking about someone else like this. Not cool. So, petty assumptions. She probably flirted her way to the top, or he probably flirted his way to the top. It's only because of how he or she looks. They're just trending. It won't last. They're not even that good. They must have paid for followers or views, or they sold out or changed for clout. All of those are so petty. Ugh, I don't like them. To me, all of that comes from a place of complete insecurity. If I was around someone who was saying things like this, it would need to be addressed. And if it didn't change, I would not be able to hang out with someone like this. I truly do not like this attitude. And again, it all comes from life lessons. I was around stuff like this for a while, and then I realized that if I wanted to reach the goals that I had in my life, like this is a no go. Absolutely not. I'm not tolerating this in my life. And there are people I will avoid now because I know that this is where their mind tends to go, and I can't do anything to change that. So the only thing I can do is take my life in a different direction and not engage in this whatsoever. You live and you learn. This is not meant to make you feel bad. If you have moments like this, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, right? This is like a complete discussion on some assumptions and thinking about what we want in our lives and what we don't want in our lives. But when it comes to saying mean things or bullying people, I'm like very sensitive to that topic and I do not like it whatsoever. Let's move in to the portion of what actually leads to these overnight moments. So, consistency, showing up, being consistent on days that you really don't want to do it, show up anyway, even if you're doing like 1%, 1% is better than none. So, consistency is key. That's a phrase people hear all the time, even down to like my skincare routine, right? Like, consistency is truly key. Okay. So, whether it's reaching your goals or just trying to have clear, acne free skin, consistency, right? So, small daily choices, a lot of times the tiny choices have a really big impact. Not all the time, but a lot of times. For example, I'm going to drink water every day this week, right? That choice of drinking water every day of the week is going to have a bigger impact in the long run. Something I know that's kind of a really basic, silly example, but again, choosing to have water over maybe diet soda in the long run, that's going to make a difference on how I personally feel. Okay, I'm talking about personal things that I can relate to. So that would be like a small daily choice. Or another small daily choice that I recently made is every day I pick like a very short 10 to 20 minute guided meditation on YouTube or a little ASMR Reiki video on YouTube, and I listen to it. There are so many different topics, so many different focuses, or just like some general ones you can choose from. This is something that I did, and it helps me to really get into a different mindset for my day, which I love. And this has been like a little daily change that I have seen has made a bigger difference in my life. So, again, small daily choices can really help to make a difference. I can relate to this next portion. So, being misunderstood or feeling like you're unseen, those can lead to bigger changes and chasing your goals because sometimes it adds a little bit of motivation to keep going. And again, this isn't about looking for validation, but I think like I was in a point once where I felt so misunderstood in a career that I was in, and just everything I was trying always seemed to be wrong. That I started pivoting and I started trying to figure out, okay, well, maybe if I do this instead, maybe this will help me to get to where I'm trying to go. Or maybe if I try this, or maybe if I try that. Some people are just going to misunderstand you no matter what you do. Some people will never, quote unquote, see you for what you're working on, no matter what you're working on. So at the end of the day, it needs to be your goals. You need to chase what you want. And if some people are just never going to see that, let that go. Or what's the phrase? I think it's Mel Robbins, let them, the let them theory. So being misunderstood, sometimes you have to just let them misunderstand you, because if you know that what you're doing is something that's going to lead you to your success, right? To your goal, you have to let people just do what they're going to do and say what they're going to say, and do your best to either avoid these people or have clear boundaries with them so what they're saying doesn't affect you if you know that you're on the path you want to be on. Let's talk about timing. There is so much power in trusting the timing. Something silly happened the other day for me where I could finally put something like in the past, and I truly believe in the timing of it because I would not have found out this information if I went looking for it a year ago, because it wouldn't have existed. So I couldn't let go of something a year ago because the information that I needed to let it go literally showed up in front of my face like a billboard the other day. And I saw it and I was like, okay, like I can actually let this go now because I have like the confirmation that I needed. And again, this sign never would have showed up a year ago, but it did the other day. And now, like, I can finally be at peace with something. So sometimes just the timing is everything. And it's really hard to trust in the timing. I know. But sometimes you have to let everything unfold. And again, it kind of comes up with, I need to really find the actual quote about luck. It's like when preparation and planning meet and it becomes luck. I promise I'll find it and then I'll post it on the podcast Instagram account at spttog podcast. Our next portion. So, some thoughts for anyone who is chasing a big dream, or maybe a few of them, a few dreams. So try your best not to rush the process. Do what feels right in the moment it feels right. I'm going to use something Miss Sabrina Carpenter said recently. She already started getting her next album going because why wait? If it feels right, if it feels good to do it in the moment, why delay that? Why wait just because that's what other people have done or that's what society implies should be done? So she did it and she went with it because that's what she felt was right. And again, I think that that's something that you want to try to do is if something feels right to you and you want to try it, right? It's all up to you. It's your journey. Focus on small wins and your progress is going to start compounding. So it's the little things sometimes, and you do really need to stop and enjoy them. I learned that more recently in my life that I need to stop and enjoy things more, which I do try to do. So I need to have like a little celebration for the fact that we are on episode number 5 of She's Probably Talking to Other Guys because this has been, well, more than 5 weeks of working on this, but it's been 5 consistent episodes, and here we are, ready to keep going. Stay in your lane, block out comparison. Sometimes you just need to ignore what's going on, ignore the noise of what's going on around you, focus on yourself. Don't compare yourself look wise, success wise, where you are in your life wise. There are plenty of people around me who are popping out babies and getting married and having this and that, and I am nowhere close. So if I sit down comparing myself to them and feeling bad that I am not starting a family in this moment, that's going to do nothing but give me bad thoughts and make me feel bad about myself. Right? That's just an example. Um, but yeah, I think that you really need to work on not comparing because comparing just doesn't generally make people feel good. I don't know if I've ever found how comparing has made me feel good. It usually results in me feeling really bad. So yeah, I'm guilty of it. I do it, and I have moments where I'm like, "Ugh, why am I doing this?" I have to stop the thought and reframe what's going on in my head to stop comparing. Or maybe if you're comparing, maybe you have a friend where you can text and be like, it's happening again. Please, like, remind me not to compare myself. That can help sometimes too. So keep that in mind. Track your growth. The key word in that is your growth, not someone else's. I'm going to use my time in the gym as an example. I can barely keep track of my own growth. I literally have to write everything down and be very specific. This little app does, it gives you like a little like yay moment if you've like added weight to something that you've done in the past or this and that. But again, it's your growth, it's not someone else's. Okay. I was working out and I was doing like my usual routine, right? Or whatever was on my plan for the day. And there was this girl like squatting. I can't even tell you how much weight it was. Like I couldn't count it. That's how much it was. And I was just like, and I had to stop for a minute and be like, okay, like that's not something you're trying to do. This is her journey. She likes to do it. That's what she's doing. You do not have to feel bad that you are not squatting that much weight right now. Again, silly little example, but like I need to keep track of what I'm doing, not what someone else is doing, because the only way you're going to go further in your goals is if you're on top of what's happening in your goals, not someone else's, because you might not even know their goals anyway. Let's talk about some ideas to help you feel better about your goals, about the way your journey is progressing, or maybe just some reflection that you can stop and take a little bit of time to think about. So, what's something you're working on that people might one day assume came easily? So maybe you're in the middle of something and you know that it's going to be absolutely amazing when you're done and when you finally show it off. And people are going to think, oh, look at that. She's just talking about it now, or he's just talking about it now. Overnight success, right? What's something that you're working on that you know you have a whole grind behind that maybe people are going to assume just came easy? Another idea is to think of a win that you've had recently and what did it take to get there. So this is kind of like celebrating a little win too, or a big win. Just think of a win that you've had recently and the grind behind it? What have people assumed came easy to you when in reality it really wasn't? And it was hard and you thrived and succeeded. Was there a moment where someone downplayed your hard work? Right? Think about it, because even though you're thinking about when someone downplayed it, after that thought, you need to clap for yourself, because you did it. It was hard and you did it anyway. And yay. And then maybe this is more for someone who's private about things that they've achieved. What's something you worked on quietly for years that people just assumed came easy to you? So, again, related to our topic of not sharing everything with everyone, right? So maybe there's something that you've been quietly working on, and then one day you showed it off. We are wrapping up. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. Next week is stop comparing your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 20. I think I inspired myself to make comparison and comparing yourself to others, or maybe comparing your goals to other people's goals. I think that I finally convinced myself we need a whole episode on comparison. So stay tuned, because next week is going to be all about the concept of comparison, assumptions related to comparing, and how we can try to stop doing that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot wait to chat with you next week. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button and follow along.